What is up, everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys figure unboxing and review video. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at Mighty Thor / Jane Foster from the movie Thor Love and Thunder, played by Natalie Portman. So this is our second Natalie Portman figure. A couple of months ago we reviewed Padme Amidala from Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Now we're doing a bit of an older version of Natalie Portman with this recent movie Mighty Thor. This is the fourth figure for this specific movie. The other three were Thor, Gore, and Valkyrie. Now only Thor and Jane caught my eye really, right, especially because they both have silicone arms, unlike the other two figures who have plastic arms. So very excited about this unboxing, right? This specific figure, I did purchase her off of Pop Collectibles this time, not Sideshow. Unfortunately, I was a little bit late for the pre-order with Sideshow, so now there is a wait list. Thankfully, Pop Collectibles did have her available to be shipped. I am going to include the link to them if you guys want to go ahead and purchase her on the description of the video, guys. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get started with the unboxing and review. Okay, so starting off with the design of the box, guys. So pretty much we get a really nice box, the same design as Thor. We get an image of Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor, along with a lot of lightning and white color box. It looks really nice to me. We also do get the name of the figure at the bottom, the name of the movie in the middle, and a special edition logo at the top left, right? As I mentioned before, really like this box, and again, it is the same design as the other three figures, right? So no complaints to me. At the right, we get pretty much the name of the figure in the middle, although the box is kind of on the opposite side. And again, as I mentioned before, we get this kind of white coloring type of lining background that looks really nice, kind of like a heavenly type of setting, if I can say it that way. On the back, we pretty much get warning and legal information on the left, and then on the right side we get the logo of Thor, or I guess the movie, covered in lining and this kind of red coloring that pretty much matches the theme of the figure itself. On the left side, we once again get the Mighty Thor, the white background, and this time we get the hammer on the right hand of Jane. So again, no issues with it whatsoever. As I mentioned before, I really like how bright this box is, right? So also at the bottom, we get pretty much the name of the movie right there, as you guys can see, and at the top we're gonna get the name of the figure, right? So pretty much that would be for the main box. As I mentioned before, really like the colors, it looks pretty good, and I really like the imagery of Jane as well. Okay, now we get this pretty nice cover, right? So I like to call it a wallpaper, I guess, if we can say it that way. And Thor includes the same thing. With Thor, it was a color green. This time we get a color type of reddish, pinkish type of coloring with the name of the figure and this triangular logo that I think represents the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what I really like is that it kind of hides the figure and it doesn't give it away what the figure has, right? So it's like, it's kind of see-through, but we really can't see everything, right? So to me, I like the cover, right? It really adds kind of secrecy to the figure, if I can say it that way. Not sure if Valkyrie and Gore also come included with that, but right now, getting Jane for the first time, first impressions, honestly, she's really heavy. For a female figure, she's heavier than I expected, honestly, but I really love the look of it. That face sculpt, that is something that we are going to have to discuss, right? No question, it looks different than Padme's in different angles and different ways, but the suit itself looks really good, and again, the figure is just heavier than I expected. So I would say without question, off to a good start. Love how it looks, and we have a lot of things to cover, right? A lot of comparisons to make, right? So as you guys know, with the video, we're gonna get started with the accessories. We'll review them one by one. We'll do a couple of side-by-side comparisons. We'll review the figure in detail, and then at the end we'll do a couple of posing and my final thoughts on the figure. Okay, with the accessories, so we get not a lot of things, but we get plenty enough things for us to be able to have a really nice figure and to get options to go ahead and pose her. So obviously we start in the middle with this hexagonal base that looks really nice. It is the same design as Thor's figure. With Thor, it was pretty much the hammer in the middle and the name of the movie at the bottom, and this kind of scratchy surface. Now with Thor, it was blue and golden. This time there's kind of like a red and black kind of mixture of coloring, along with the hammer being silver. The name of the figure at the bottom. We do also get a waist clamp on a flight pole to pretty much hold on to the figure so that we can display her flying. Now I love this coloring more than Thor. To me, the red and black match really nice on the display base. So me personally, I like the display this base more than Thor's. And then we get two head sculpts. So we get Natalie Portman head sculpt with her long hair. We do get rotating eyes with this head sculpt, and we'll review them a little bit later on. I think this is a really nice head sculpt, and it is definitely without question a different head sculpt compared to Padme's from Attack of the Clones. We get the second head sculpt as well, this time with her helmet that looks really nice. Now I will pretty much talk about both of these head sculpts more in detail once we review the figure, so that way we can make comparisons and we can also show the rotating eyes. And then it also comes with an interchangeable helmet, right, pretty much with her broken left eye, well, not the left eye, but the left side of her mask, right, is pretty much broken, which is pretty accurate to the movie scene at the end, right? So we get those two options. So pretty much we get three different options of posing Jane with different head sculpts, right, or different helmets. So I like that a lot. We do also get two different Thor's hammers, and that's what I'm gonna call it, Thor's hammers. I'm not gonna try to say the name, guys, I'm sorry, but pretty much we get it broken down in different pieces with a piece of lining connecting all of those kind of pieces of, I guess, metal, right, or rock, or whatever you guys want to call it. And again, this is also accurate to the movie, as I mentioned before, right? So to me, it looks really nice. Now sadly, this piece of Thor's hammer does not light up via batteries, but this one right here that does, right? So this one would be connected, and just comparing it to the other Thor hammer that I have for Captain America from Endgame, this is just a much more detailed hammer. It's brighter. The lines itself, they look great. And then to turn it on, so pretty much as you guys can see there at the bottom is where we install the batteries, right? And thankfully the pamphlet that the figure comes with does give us those instructions. But the stick where the figure holds on to the hammer, so pretty much if you just give that turn to the right or left, it turns on or turns off, right? It also does come with a piece of lightning, right, connected in the middle of the hammer. And if I turn off the lights, honestly, the lining on the hammer is really bright. So just comparing it to Stormbreaker for Thor, miles ahead it turns on more for this hammer for Jane. So I am really happy about that, and I can't wait to install it onto the figure, because to me it lights up pretty nicely. And again, it's a very nice accessory, very detailed, so no complaints there. We also do get 6 different pieces of hands. I'm surprised you only get 6, and these two would pretty much just have her hand, I don't want to say in a relaxed open position, right, but pretty much kind of like in a relaxed kind of closed type of motion. What I do like is the detailing on the fingers, right, and also on the glove itself, right. There's some wrinkling lines to show motion, and I really like that. And also the color texture is pretty nice as well, right. So we get those 2 hands right there. The other 2 are the ones that the figure came with, so it's pretty much just close fists, right. Not too much to say here, right. Just know that it comes with that. And as I mentioned before, look at the wrinkling lines right there on her palm, where when she's closing the fist, right, I can tell there's motion, right. So I'm really glad that they put all of these type of details on those hand displays. The other 2 are pretty much just basic, so it's so that she can hold on to the hammer from both hands. Pretty much we get those options with the figure, so we can display the hammer with either hand, so that is totally up to you guys. As I mentioned before, very satisfied with the detailing on the fingernails and fingers, right, and also on the glove itself, right. Again, as I mentioned before, a little bit surprised that they didn't do more hand displays, but at the same time, I can't really complain. I think with what we get is good enough. So in my personal opinion, all of these accessories are nice. Can't really complain about any of them, right. So now let's go ahead and get to the figure. Okay, so we get to the figure itself. So obviously we're gonna review Jane's head sculpt first, because that's the way the figure came. So this is definitely a different head sculpt to Padme's, right. It's not the same head sculpt. I think her skin tone is a little bit lighter, also the red lipstick, and I think that there's kind of like an expression to her that's kind of a little bit more, I don't want to say happy, but more like a lighten up type of mood. I thought Attack of the Clones Padme is kind of more serious than this one, but man, do I really like this head sculpt. I think this is is by far the better head sculpt compared to the other one. Also, it does come with pretty much her hair that is sculpted, right, not rooted, and it's pretty much like Wanda. So unfortunately, we're not going to have a lot of articulations because of that piece of hair covering her left and right side. So we really don't want to turn the head sculpt too much, because those pieces could end up breaking. But what I can say is that the hair looks great, the skin texture, again, the figure does have rotating eyes, so I did want to go ahead and show you guys that with this head sculpt. Now we have the rotating eyes. So I will confess, guys, I had a lot of issues getting the rotating eyes to kind of stick together. They move too easily, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that it did really kind of bother me how hard I had to struggle to pretty much get the eyes to rotate. But here we have it. No question, just adds another dimension to the figure. It looks so much better, and again, it looks like Natalie Portman from every single angle. And as I mentioned before, right, to me, it's the better head sculpt, right, compared to Padme's. Now let's get to the suit itself, right? So I can't tell you guys how much I love the color mixture for the suit itself. So we get black, red, and silver pretty much all around the suit, and my god, do the colors mix very, very well, right? Sadly, I'm still a rookie at this, so I really don't know the fabric of the suit itself. There's some soft parts, but the actual armor itself on her chest, right, and on her arms and legs, it is kind of like a harder type of material, so I would assume it's plastic, right? Now the silicone arms. So this is the second figure from Thor that we get silicone arms, right? Obviously they won't be in Thor himself, and my god, are these silicone arms great. Looking at the muscles, right, it shows muscles. I love how natural the muscles look. It looks like actual skin, right? And it's kind of like a squishy type of material, right? So obviously I can tell that is a silicone, right? Sadly, the only part that I dislike is right there, her chest area. You guys can tell there's like a big seam line. Now obviously that's not going to be visible from every single angle, but once you look to the sides, it unfortunately has that, right? But again, I really can't ask for too much, right? The full body wasn't made out of silicone, just the arms itself, so that seam line was unfortunately going to be there. Now right here on her pants area, so thankfully we get this kind of fabric right there in between her groin that really looks nice. And what I like about it is that I can tell that if I stretch the figure, I don't think it's really going to tear apart. So I'm always down for durability, so I really like that part as well. And then at the bottom, to me, I think the boots is what makes this figure as heavy as it is, right? As I mentioned, whenever we first unboxed the figure, this figure is heavier than I expected, and I think it all has to do with the armor in her chest, and then also the boots themselves. It is a really heavy figure, but I really like how great the boots look, as well as the whole suit itself. It just looks really nice. So last thing I did want to go ahead and cover about the figure was going to be the cape itself. So the cape is pretty much very similar to Thor's. So as you guys can see, it has 4 different lines of wiring, 2 on the corners, right, and then 2 in the middle, right? So giving us options to go ahead and impose the figure and pose the cape in different positions, so that way we can pretty much have a much more natural posing. The cape itself is kind of the same feeling as far as the material of how it's made compared to Thor's. It's kind of like this soft material, right, and it looks really nice in my personal opinion. Now speaking of Thor, if we compare the capes, I think Jane's coloring has a kind of more of a brighter type of red, while Thor's is more of a darker red. Now the feel of them is pretty much the same, right, and they both have a lot of wiring, giving us options to pose both characters, right? But again, I think the only difference would be pretty much that Jane's cape is a little bit more a brighter type of red, and Thor's would be a little bit darker, kind of more drier type of coloring, right? But as I mentioned before, right, to me the cape looks nice. I really love the coloring, right? And again, I just love that it has a lot of wiring, giving us a lot of options, right, to pose the figure, right, in more natural ways. So Another thing that I did want to go ahead and cover, right, was pretty much the articulations for the figures. So pretty much the boots themselves do move kind of pretty much all around. Now, I really don't want to move them too much, because in this case, what could happen is that we could tear them apart, right, or something like that, or split them from the legs. So I really don't want to try that, but just know that they pretty much move really easily. Now, if we move the legs to the side, that's how much it moves, right, and it could move further, but I don't want to risk tearing the fabric of the suit that's itself, right? Now we move the legs to the front, pretty much that's how much it moves, right? And if we move them to the back, right, pretty much just bend the knees, that's how far it goes, right? And again, as I mentioned before, right there, that material, right, it looks like pleather. I really don't want to ruin it, so I just prefer to stretch it to certain ways, and pretty much it, right? Now, just like Thor, this figure has no articulations in the mid part of their bodies. I mean, it barely moves to the front and barely moves to the back, so I would not try to move it more, because it could end up tearing apart. I think because of the armor, there's no articulations in the chest back area, so it really doesn't move. Now, another thing that I love about the silicone arms is that not only do they look real, but they're so easy to move. As you guys can see, I can move this arm in so many different ways. Now, obviously, I don't want to be too loose on it, because we can end up breaking them, but I like the fact that it goes to the front, goes to the back, you know, pretty much it bends, right, like a regular arm. So it's not just authenticity as far as the look, but also the movement and articulations. It's what makes these arms really special. I really hope Hot Toys can do you know, silicone arms for every single figure from now on. They've started to do it for a lot of figures. Hopefully, just like rotating eyes, they could start doing it for every single one of them. So as you guys can see right there with the muscles, right, it's stretched really nicely. I hate the fact that that ball joint right there on the armpit area is visible, but again, as I mentioned before, since the whole body is not silicone made, it's kind of hard to ask for, you know, for seam lines not to be shown. Pretty much, if you guys want to bend the elbow, right, that's how much it bends right there. And again, I just love how natural I guess the look of the arms are. I could tell that it's an actual human arm, so I am shocked how great that looks. Next articulation piece, we're gonna take a look at the head. So sadly with the head, guys, because of those hair pieces, it only rotates to that point. And again, as I mentioned before with other pieces, I could try to rotate it more, but again, I just don't want to risk you know, breaking one of the pieces of the plastic hair, right? So that's as much as it moves, right? Again, not a lot of articulations because of the hair. So I don't want to say it's an issue. I mean, I really can't ask more whenever it has female hair, but just something that I'm really sad about, right, that I'm not able to pose this figure in more different ways. Now, thankfully, with the helmet face sculpt, I think it has more articulations, so let's go ahead and install it onto the figure. So now we have the helmeted look. So to me, without question, this is the best look to the figure in my personal opinion. I just love the helmet so much, right? And compared to Thor's, which I wasn't a big fan of his helmet, this helmet for Jane just looks so awesome. I love how big her eyeballs look, right, on here. So it looks absolutely amazing, and there's this kind of like shininess to the helmet itself, right, that looks just absolutely awesome. And then the great thing is that her strings of hair in the front aren't as thick as the normal Jane head sculpt, so the articulations for this specific head sculpt are a little bit better than the normal Jane head sculpt. So as you guys can see there, we're able to kind of lift the hair strings to rotate the head sculpt a little bit more, and then also it tilts to the front and back a little bit more, right? So without question, this is the best look to the figure, right? Again, it just looks so much better. Her eyes look very big, the articulations are better, and it's, again, just my personal opinion, right? Now, to go ahead and install the broken helmet piece, so we're just gonna go ahead and disinstall the kind of ear pieces, and then this head sculpt does have magnet, which to me is amazing, meaning that we don't have to worry about it coming off too easily. And then so we pretty just much take that front and back part off, and now we get a bald no eyebrow, no hair Natalie Portman, right? So I have no issues with Hot Toys not doing eyebrows and not doing full ears for this specific head sculpt, because again, it's not intended to be this way, right? It's supposed to be pretty much shown with the helmet itself, right? So I completely understand. And speaking of helmet, now we have the helmet itself, right? So now the helmet shows us the broken eyepiece, which I possibly should have posted. I'm sorry, I should have possibly posed the figure with the rotating eyeballs to the other side, looking on that piece where it's broken, right? But this is another option that you guys get, right? I think it's totally up to you guys how you want to pose the figure. Again, me personally, I'm gonna pose it with the normal mask and not broken, but this is a good look itself as well, right? And again, it just gives us different options to pose Jane herself. So both head sculpts to me are great, as well as the helmets. Everything's good so far for the figure. Okay guys, a couple of side-by-side comparisons. So we have 3 comparisons in total. Number 1, to me, an obvious one, Thor himself. So my second figure from this specific movie. Both characters, which are one of my favorite couples of all of Marvel, right? It was very exciting getting to see both Natalie and Chris act again in the same movie for Thor. And both figures are really, really awesome. And I'm gonna shock you guys. I think Jane is the better figure. I think, well, not necessarily the better figure, right? Because obviously we could say that Thor has more accessories, right? But I think that the design of the suit is by far better for Jane. I think the colors of the suit match so much better, right? Taking a look at that red, silver, and black, it just suits her so much better compared to Thor, which again, I'm still a fan of the suit itself, right? Not a lot of people were a big fan of his suit, but me, I personally liked it. But there's just something about that shining kind of look to the silver part of the coloring of the suit for Jane. To me, it is the better figure in my personal opinion. Let me know guys in the comments which figure do you guys think is best, but this would be the first comparison. Okay, second side-by-side comparison. This is another obvious one. So we're doing her in the multiverse. So now this is from Star Wars, Padme Amidala, a much younger Natalie Portman at that time, right? It was the early 2000s. Obviously, Thor: Love and Thunder was late 2023, 24, right? So I obviously, as I mentioned before, right, this Thor figure does have a new Natalie Portman head sculpt, and I'm really glad that Hot Toys went that route because it's 2 different completely different characters at different ages, right? So I'm glad that they did 2 different head sculpts. Both head sculpts are great. I'm glad that both have rotating eyeballs, and I'm very happy to have both of these figures, right? Because these are 2 very unique characters in my personal opinion, right? So very happy to have them both, right? But I think without question, Mighty Thor is the better figure, and it does have the better head sculpt in my personal opinion. Again, just like that other comparison, guys, let me know in the comments which head sculpt do you guys think it's best, and which figure do you guys think is best as well, and also which character is more important to their universe, right? Just kind of a tricky question, right? So totally up to you guys. Okay, last side-by-side comparison, another weird one. So just like with Thor, I compared Thor and Wonder Woman, and we're going to do the same thing here with Jane. The reason why is because of the silicone, right? So as I mentioned on previous videos, Wonder Woman was my first ever silicone body / arms. And to me, till this day, it stands very nicely, and the silicone has not had any damages whatsoever. So I'm happy to report that, right? But what I will say this is that to me, I think that the muscles are much more defined with the Jane figure than with the Wonder Woman, right? Now the Wonder Woman figure still looks great, but there's something about how the muscles are defined for Jane that to me it is the better, I don't want to say figure, but just the better use of silicone on the arms, right? Now obviously the difference is that Wonder Woman, her whole body is made out of silicone, right? So that is a big plus for her. But still in all, right, I think that the silicone used for Jane does seem more updated and more upgraded, right? And again, I just think that they did a better job of defining the muscles, right, for Jane. Both figures still in all are great, and as I mentioned before, I really hope that they go silicone for every single figure that has any open skin part, either legs or arms. But this would be pretty much it for all of the side-by-side comparisons, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about them, and let me know what you guys think other comparisons that I could have possibly made with this figure. Okay guys, we have reached the end of the video. So as always, I like to post the figure in different ways and give my final thoughts on her. So what an amazing figure, right? Whenever I had seen her in the images, I thought that she looked really cool, but now seeing her in person, she's better than I expected. I think she's the best figure of the movie, right? Comparing her with Thor, Valkyrie, and Gore, she is to me the better figure, right? I love the presence that she has. I love the cape, the helmet, all of the face sculpts, the accessories. To me, this figure has presence, right? And I could tell she is a godly character, although she's a human, right? But she's supposed to be representing a godly character now that she has the hammer, right? And it was a pleasure seeing Natalie Portman, right, act again as Jane Foster, right? I thought she looked really awesome, even though the movie wasn't as good as I would have wanted it to be. I think that even if the movie isn't as great as we as fans would want them to be, I think we can still appreciate these figures slash suits. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do with Jane. Again, as I mentioned before, right, to me, just an amazing figure, right? To be honest, one of my favorites of my collection as of now. I really just love everything about the figures, from suit to, you know, articulations, cape, mask, and a lot of things that I really love about this figure. One thing that you guys are going to notice is that unfortunately I'm not going to put the regular Jane head sculpt on the figure for the posing parts. I really had a lot of issues with that head sculpt, right? I'm not sure if maybe mine just was not, you know, functional compared to others, right? But I had a lot of occasions where the actual eyeballs popped out of the head sculpt, right? And as much as I tried putting them together, which they did, once I installed it to the whole body, the rotating eyeballs just kept moving different ways, and I was never able to, you know, to get the figure to pose correctly with the Jane head sculpt. So all these poses will include the helmeted look, which I was already going to use either way, right? I was already going to pose her this way, but again, just, you know, apologies if you guys were looking to get a regular Jane head sculpt pose. It's just, again, because of the issues that I had, I wasn't able to get that done, right? But still in all, great figure, love it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about her, and let me know if you guys did pick her up by any chance, right? And what your thoughts are about her. But for now, guys, this is going to be the end of the video. As always, want to thank you for supporting me and my channel. If it is the first time that you're watching me, just know that unboxings is something that we do pretty much every week, right? I try to be as consistent as I possibly can. So if you guys are big fans of Hot Toys, feel free to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and also the notifications bell, so that we are always updated whenever I do drop a future unboxing on the channel. Just an FYI, I do have around 3 or 4 more unboxings coming up, so stay tuned in. We have a lot of content coming up on the channel, right? I also will include the links to my Instagram and TikTok on the description of the video. There is where I post daily images and videos or small clips of my figures that I unbox, along with updates to my channel on a daily basis. A reminder that I did get this figure off of Pop Collectibles, so I will include the link to them on the description of the video in case you do guys want to go ahead and grab her. But for now, guys, this will be it for this Mighty Thor Jane Foster unboxing and review. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.